Okay, hello and welcome to this writing workshop for week 5, I think. Although I think it's my second writing workshop of this quarter, not sure. In any case, today, I should put OBS away. Today we'll be talking about Hades, a game by SuperGiantGames. And for everyone who's been in the room, I really love this studio. Door, please. Alright, so, what is Hades? And I'm just going to be reading from this piece of paper. I know that you guys can all read, but that's what this workshop's about today. So, Hades is the 4th game by SuperGiantGames. It's an indie studio with games that boast excellent visuals, sound design, and narrative. Different from their previous games, Hades is a roguelike dungeon crawler in genre. So, every time that you try to go through a dungeon, every time you die, you start at the very beginning, losing most of your stuff, but having some stats that carry over, right? It's a type of game that involves a player repeatedly dying through a procedurally generated environment. So, today I want to talk about how Hades presents its story and its writing, because it's always a little challenging sometimes to put our writing and our stories into our games, right? So, how do these guys do it? So, just some background on the world. As the name implies, Hades is based on Greek mythology. So, the story of this game involves Prince Zagreus, the son of Hades, trying to escape the underworld. A brief search online does reveal that Zagreus is an actual character from Greek mythology, but one that hasn't really had a lot of coverage in terms of the material that's out there. So that's what SuperGiantGames was sort of looking for, is hey, these are characters that haven't really been explored too much. So this is sort of their take on Greek mythology. So there are some liberties, probably. So because the game already has a foundation for its world, many details are given. So Hades is the god of the underworld. His brothers are Zeus and Poseidon. Being bound to a preset story, Hades lets its players more quickly grasp certain character relations and motivations. Players can understand, or at least imagine to some extent, what sort of world this game takes place in almost immediately. If you've been to any of the previous workshops, I've mentioned world documents where you'd want to sort of build up, try to explain well, what world is our game taking place in, right? This might be a little easier for them because we have Greek mythology. We already kind of know hey, maybe Hades is a little bit bitter about his lot in life, that he is stuck in the underworld, keeping track of all the dead people, and there's a lot of dead people. For us though, how can we tell more about the worlds of our own invention? We might not always be able to draw upon well-known foundations, but we can use them to a certain extent. So name something the Prometheus, for example, and people might associate it with fire, or stealing from a higher power, or maybe a figure dealing with divine punishment. This is sort of just this is just a fun little detail, but also just, yeah. Of course, illusions and symbolism only work if the player is familiar with the story or understands the idea you're presenting. But yeah, try to consider that type of thing. This can be done through visual motifs, or just the way that we present our characters. Fun stuff. So in the case of Hades, another way they do it is through its dialogue. This game has a ton of dialogue. And all of it is voiced, which I love, which really adds to it, I think. Dialogue and characters. Also, I'm going pretty fast because I talk quickly, but if you have any questions or you want to point anything out, feel free to stop me at any time. Do you have any questions? I haven't really covered anything that would really need questions, I guess, but well, let's continue. So, Hades has a colorful cast of characters, all of which are fully voiced. While the bulk of the game is spent running through the underworld and trying to fight past monsters and the like, each time the player dies, Zagreus returns home to the House of Hades. So, because it is a game, right, that main gameplay, the bulk of that game is running through these procedurally generated rooms fighting monsters, right? You might think, well, how do we find space to have character dialogue and time for that, right? For example, if you pick up an upgrade, mechanically speaking, it's an upgrade, right? But in the story, it's like a gift from the gods. So the other gods from Olympus will greet Zagreus and be like, hey, you're having trouble down there. Have my blessing. Get out of there. Also, say hi to your uncle, to your dad for us. He doesn't say hi to us enough. So that's where it sort of sneaks in elements of dialogue. And similarly, in our games, we can try to sneak in dialogue, character interactions. And it really does help to build character relations and the world we're working in, how the characters relate to each other, how they relate to the world that they're in. So I think the main point that I want to make here is just trying to find the spaces to include our writing. The player can talk to, or the different characters will greet the prince as he is running through the House of Hades, right? And the player can choose to interact more with them if they want. And this isn't necessary to the completion of the game. Like, the player has a choice. Yeah, I want to hear more about these characters. I want to see how they react to each other. I would say that, like, sometimes, it's all, like, there's no absolutes in all this, but, like, if you force a player to go through tons and tons of dialogue between each run, well, then the pace is ruined, right? Like, I want to get back in there and, like, try again. I died to this dumb thing, I'm gonna beat it this time, right? So you can go back really quickly and just be like, hey, I'm going back out. Bye, guys. Or you can take your time and more slowly be like, well, how's Cerberus doing? Good dog. So in this way, sort of like dialogue and pacing in Hades go really well together, and they find the spaces to have this dialogue. It's really nice. Yeah. So there's this like lovely space to build up the relationship between Zagreus and these other characters, right? So there's a cool mechanic in this game where while you're out adventuring, you can collect this ambrosia. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, ambrosia is like the food of the gods, right? So you can give ambrosia to the various characters in the underworld, and they'll very warmly be like, wow, thank you so much. Mechanically speaking, they give you like a little boon or a gift that you can keep with you on your run, and it'll help you, right? One of them, for example, gives you like extra health, which is really helpful when you can't heal. So there's a mechanical reward, but there's also a narrative reward. In that doing so, there's actually like a relationship meter with each of the characters. So giving them this ambrosia over time makes them like more warmly react to you, and it's, again, like a great space, and also a mechanical like reward for doing so, of making these characters have this time. But yeah. So, been talking a lot about mechanics. We can't ever separate our mechanics from our gameplay, or from our story, excuse me. As I've mentioned, as some of you have seen, it's a lot of going through the dungeon and dying, trying again, right? I would say that in general, and again, there's exceptions, but in general, roguelikes like this, depending on the game, can be really awkward when handling the story. Inherent to the mechanical structure of these types of games is a heavy sense of repetition, right? Like, oh, I made it through dungeon, except I died. I'm at the start again? How did I even get here, right? Repeat the run over and over again for an ultimate goal. How do you explain how the character keeps coming back? It's a weird one, right? And then it's like, well, what happens when they get the ultimate goal? They want to keep playing, right? So all the gameplay is contained in this sort of the journey to this goal, but not the goal itself. So it's a weird space that we're occupying, right? Mechanically speaking. The game Dead Cells is a similar genre, right? It even sort of pokes fun at this. You start over the game again, and the character will be like, now hold on a second, I killed the boss. Why am I here again? It doesn't even answer it, so it just sort of makes fun of it. I would say that, and this is just personal opinion, but Hades takes this sort of mechanic in stride and tries to explain the roguelike staples through narrative world building. As a prince of the underworld, who's technically already in the afterlife, dying just takes Zagreus back to his house with Hades. His dad just sort of greets him like, oh, how did it go this time? I see you died. It actually has this wonderful sort of GLaDOS feel to it from Portal, where Hades is just like very, very cold and critical, but not in like an aggressive way. Sort of a bit of a passive aggression, which is fun, but also like, hey, you could be a bit more supportive, Dad, type of thing. In any case, powering up over multiple runs is done through this object in Zagreus' room, the Mirror of Night, a gift from the goddess Nyx, which is the goddess of night in Greek mythology. So, you know, this could be called anything mechanically speaking, right? Like you collect blips on your runs, and using these blips, you can go to the blop and get a few special abilities from the blop, right? Could be anything. But through naming these devices in a way that presents a story, it's not the blop, it is the Mirror of Night. It is a gift, and it's a very large gift from Nyx, who acts as a surrogate mother to Zagreus. So in some conversation, Zagreus will take a moment and just be like, hey Nyx, I really appreciate all that you've done for me. And it's like, you're welcome, child. I'm glad to see that the mirror is serving you well. And it's like, it's a slower, calm moment that's just really nice in this very intense, like, I'm going to go through and beat up all these monsters. Yeah, what's up?
normally in games where repetition is like a key game mechanic, like it gets kind of like tiring to cycle through the same story over and over.
It definitely is. Yeah.
So does Hades like change it up a bit? Does it mean like narrative stuff each run?
So each run, the characters will like sort of be like, you're still trying. Like it's kind of like in the story that it is a highly repetitive process. So the characters act as such. But I would say that between runs, it does progressively sort of like things change. And it is a challenge that I can't guarantee that they're like answering it to the satisfaction of everybody. But for example, like after a few runs, this bar will open up that you can see, and there's like one additional character who just chills there. You'll meet characters over time, like things. There's the illusion of things happening as you are continuously, repetitively trying to escape, and also a bit of a sort of consistent joking. You died again. How'd it go this time, kid? Type of thing. But yeah, it is a challenge, and there might not necessarily be a definite answer for this genre of game, but it still provides a pretty cool experience. But yeah, repetition can be really weird to handle. Does that answer the question? Okay. Any other questions really quick? Okay. So in this way, like describing these elements that are inherently repetitive through the story, the game tries to make it not so much a hindrance, but another space to tell our story, right? This is the type of relationship that Nyx has with Zagreus, right? So the aforementioned mechanic with giving ambrosia to the characters and the structure of a roguelike game lead to an interesting conflict, in my opinion, with this game specifically. And that is, as the player continues the game, both they and Zagreus grow closer and more attached to the inhabitants of the underworld. This is the underworld that Zagreus is trying to escape, right? So it's as time goes on, they're also getting stronger and stronger and more capable of potentially completing that ultimate goal, right? Zagreus wants to leave the world, but maybe he and the player both are getting to learn more about the world and its people every time they die. So what happens when Zagreus finally accomplishes his goal? And how would we approach this type of narrative situation? The game is in early access, so I don't think they have gotten to the point where Zagreus successfully escapes and all is well type of thing, right? But just as a dilemma for us to ponder, that is something to consider, where how would we handle this type of repetition? Hit the door, please. So, in conclusion, it's a beautiful looking game. We as student game devs might not feel like we have the means to do things like they do. They're a company with like 3 complete, successful games under their belt. But even so, we can learn from the things that they do, or any other studio that makes games that we enjoy. So taking a look at the games that we love gives us things that we can take away and try to do ourselves. They're also a really small company, so like... In any case, Hades is a game genre that leans heavily, in my opinion, towards the mechanical sort of games, right? Fight the enemies, try again, right? But at the same time, it still has a fun story to tell. It finds the spaces in this like mechanics-heavy game to tell a story, and I really like that. So in our games, obviously, like it depends on the project, but a lot of the times it is sort of mechanical. Let's make a platformer, right? Well, the challenge is to find the spaces in these platformers to tell our stories. And I can't give a definite answer. Obviously, like we'll be trying to look at those in our workshops. But yeah, so thank you for coming to this workshop, and I am completely kidding, we are not done yet. So yeah, I've just been reading to you from this piece of paper. Oh, really quick, I have some helpful links here. They did a Q&A session on their Discord recently, had some snippets related to writing, some snippets related to design. I've accumulated a few of them on a Google Drive thing here. I'll link that. And then they have, there's like a YouTube channel that does like documentaries. They do a documentary behind the scenes of Hades, which is fun. It's a bit of a 30-minute video. It's part 1, part 2 isn't out yet. But it's really funny to see. There was an anecdote both in this video and in the Q&A session where it turns out that a lot of the people who work at SuperGiant are also the voice actors for the characters. So there was this anecdote. There's the character of Orpheus, I think is his name. In Greek mythology, he is a brilliant musician whose wife dies, and he goes to the underworld and tries to save her. But he's told to leave the underworld without looking back to his wife, who is behind him, right? Just as the exit's in sight, he turns around and both of them get stuck in the underworld forever. So anyway, very musically inclined character. In the documentary and in the Q&A, they mentioned there's nothing quite like that describes us as a company, as seeing this guy just nail it in one shot, the perfect take for Orpheus, this musical singer, and then to come out of the booth, go back to his desk, and start helping us work with our taxes, which was just really funny to me. In any case, I've talked about it enough. I want to show you guys this game, and then I want to talk about it as you guys see it on this big screen. So I've really quickly gone and put Hades on this machine, and we're going to load it up, do a few runs, and talk about what we see. And hopefully it'll be more than just me talking, because I've already chattered quite a bit about this game. But yeah, if it decides to load. I'm not sure if it will or not. While we are waiting to see if it does or does not open, do you guys have any questions at all? Or any comments, or anything that you liked, or anything you didn't like, or, yeah. Yes?
Why is Zacharias trying to get out of the underworld?
So, here's a fun thing. The narrator, there's a narrator in this game. Zacharias can hear the narrator. And in a flashback scene, the narrator accidentally slips to Zacharias that Zacharias' mother is Persephone, who is oddly not in the underworld in this game. In Greek mythology, she visits every now and then. And this isn't opening yet.
Didn't that have something to do with peaches?
Pomegranates?
Pomegranates.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah. Why is this not opening? Any ideas how to get this to open?
Double click on it.
Yes, I will double click once more. Or maybe again.
The Epic Games launcher.
Let's see if it's working. Does it stream this part? Oh well. We have a task manager. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I don't see.
It will probably.
Yeah, okay. So, not sure why it's not. Maybe if I close Epic Games Launcher and then try it again. Goodbye, Epic Games Launcher. And goodbye, Epic Games Launcher 2. Open up the game, guys. Epic Games Launcher is now launching. Maybe. Yeah, so this is a fun little wait and see if the program loads. Really took the steam out of it. So hey, pacing. Don't do this in your games writing.
Wait, what pacing?
Huh?
Pacing?
Yeah. The technical difficulties really ruined the pacing of this workshop, so try not to have technical difficulties in the middle of your game that interfere with the story you're trying to tell.
It's using the Epic launcher, right?
Yeah, it is. Oh no, this is a problem because my password was auto-generated and super long. I'm pretty sure it won't show you guys on stream because that'd be really awkward. If it did that. Give me 1 second and let me try to figure this out because this is a fun thing. But don't worry, we've still got 30 whole minutes, so we've got plenty of time to play a game when we're not supposed to. It's for research. And it's currently not working. So, hold on and please don't show my password to the entirety of the internet. Cool. Please work. Guess what is the only game I have on the Epic Games Launcher? What? Yes. Exactly. It's running, it says. It's running. What? Where is this tab? What the heck? Where is it running?
Probably when I showed the Fortnite.
It's running. Okay, so here we go. This is a loading bar.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really cool narrative device. You see, it makes the player wait. And waiting is important. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move this over. Okay. So, as an early access game, it's constantly being updated, which is a weird one. Gonna turn down the volume just a tad.
Who's the big guy in the back?
Huh? That is Primordial Chaos, who I haven't met yet because I haven't played since the update. Being updated again in a bit. But we're gonna start a fresh file, if it lets me. An empty file. Yeah. Here we go. So this is the game.
Space.
Few tales are told of Hades, whose very name inspires fear and penitence, reminding us of the inevitable fate which we all share. I, however, mean to tell you such a tale. Listen carefully.
Goodbye, Father.
Captions are on, right? Captions are off. Wow.
Oh, weird.
Okay. So yeah, mechanically speaking,
This place.
it's your typical game, right? You can move, you can dash, you have attacks, you have a dash attack, and you can shoot a fireball. It's a rock or something. Gotta pick it up, right? So it's simple enough. Environment is destructible.
Whoops.
And you'll notice the character talks every now and then while we're just running around. So yeah, and here we go.
I'm leaving. Somebody stop me.
So, your health doesn't regenerate as a roguelike staple. And yeah. So if we just beat all these enemies, eventually. Give me 1 second, I'm working on it. We'll get this
There she
thing.
is.
So this is an upgrade.
It's got to be her. Then here goes nothing. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
Hail, noble cousin. Now, let's get you from that miserable place. I'll see that all of us upon Olympus do our part, beginning here with me.
So you get to choose a mechanical upgrade to any of your things. I'm gonna go over here with this one.
Thank you, goddess. Your power fused with mine. This should be good.
So yeah, gameplay.
Wretches. Right on cue. Phew.
So this is a piece of equipment that stays with you between runs. You use that to power up. Any idea what that is? It's a pomegranate. Okay, so I'm thinking I should probably die. So let's say we're having trouble and we get hit. Ow. Ow, ow. I can't. You say it's a game over, but it's technically not a game over. Because here we are.
Damn it. I'm home.
So here we are, back at home. House of Hades.
Yes, carry on, everyone. Don't mind me.
Welcome to the House of Hades, where... Wait, I know you. Guess that means you died out there, huh? Well, don't be sad, though. Pretty much everybody dies sometime.
Some of us more than others.
Yeah.
Back already? Stupid boy. I told you nobody gets out of here, whether alive or dead. So how was your wanton ransacking of my domain?
Greetings, Father. My ransacking was a delight, thank you for asking. So I'll just be on my way again.
Be on your way indeed. What do I care? You shall never reach the surface. Go, see for yourself.
Infernal watchdog Cerberus regards the underworld prince with mixed emotions, from purest joy to deepest melancholy.
I love the dog. I love the dog.
You watch over things for me, won't you, boy? You know I'd take you if I could.
Mentioned the whole ambrosia thing. Cerberus was the first one I gave it to, for obvious reasons.
Good to see you, lad, despite the circumstances. Remember your training out there. The pain of death is but another obstacle.
And fear is for the weak. Take care, Achilles.
So I don't know if I'll get around to it this
The
far.
House of Hades, that dark and lavishly appointed lair of the underworld's king, is home not just to him, but to his willful progeny.
You know I can hear you, old man.
In any case, I don't know if I'll get into it this game playthrough, but eventually Achilles gives you like a codex, right? So the more that you talk to the characters, the more that you fight the enemies, it's your sort of database, right? So more writing. I don't know if, generally speaking, we won't have time or space in our games to put a codex of sorts, but if you had the opportunity to put in supplemental writing like that, that'd be a cool space as well. Cool thing, all of it's written in the perspective of Achilles, so fun little thing. So really quick, here is...
You have come home. Do not despair and hold to your resolve, child. Tell me something. Has the goddess Athena thus been true to her word and her willingness to lend you her support?
She has, Nyx. I'm grateful that you put us into contact and explained to her the situation that I'm in.
It gladdens me to hear it. Seldom do Olympians consort with those born of the underworld. Yet your circumstances seemed due cause for an exception. She shall make a powerful ally.
Yeah. And here is Zagreus' room.
I'm back, room. Did you miss me? No time to rest.
The bedchambers of Prince Zagreus lie in a perpetual state of utter disarray, despite his lord and master of the house repeatedly insisting that he pick everything up.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad, is it?
So here
Night and darkness guide me.
So each of these are upgrades that you can use darkness to get upgrades, such as damage from striking behind, restoring a measly 1 health every time that you walk through a new room. It actually adds up, which is weird.
Power.
Here's a fun one.
Okay. I can escape through that pink window there. Open up. Coronacht, the Heart Seeker. Let's deal some attacks.
Over here.
What the?
Nice place you got here, boyo. But enough with the small talk already. I'm here to do a job. So let me have it. Give me everything you got.
I don't remember having you on payroll, mate. Who's your supervisor?
Oh, I'm not about to wrap my sources, pal. Just try and beat it out of me.
If you insist.
So mechanically speaking, this is a trading dummy. Narratively speaking, it's a skeleton friend with an accent.
That's the stuff.
Oh god.
Whoa, yeah. Almost felt that.
Whoops.
What's up, boyo? But I
Nothing
got
here
you
yet.
pretty good.
Alright, so then, the game continues.
Well, time to go get killed again.
And here we have our core mechanical gameplay loop. Look familiar?
Thunder. Is this really him? Okay. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
Greetings there, young man. Pull up your father's always been rather difficult, and he is not so much as called in quite some time. You'll have a better home where you belong, here on Olympus. And to help you on your journey, have my blessing.
What a fight. Rot. Settled then.
So the way it works is every time you get to choose one blessing, right? It is possible to encounter a god more than once on a run, right? So I could, I think, hit Zeus like twice and get like an upgrade to my dash and an upgrade to my attack, right? So there are, you know, different mechanical ramifications for choosing different upgrades, or just personal preference.
Composed of such innumerable, ever-shifting, interlocking chambers, the underworld of Lord Hades all but guarantees the dead shall there remain until the end of time.
Explaining procedurally generated rooms.
Good thing I'm not dead.
So yeah, even though it is a pretty mundane thing, you know, it tries to lend an explanation. And I think it does a decent job doing so. Yeah, so you'll notice the diamond thing does significantly more damage and homes in on the enemies.
It's a skeleton key. This can unlock something back home. Each exit has its own reward.
Ow. Oh. Ow.
The underworld's power.
Alright, let's see how far we can get really quick.
A palm of power.
Well, here's luck. This is just a room that gives you
The
the bonus.
might of Olympus.
So
They must have
pomegranates
lots of these
power
on
stuff up.
Olympus.
This is the fountain, heals you, which is rare. You got to choose between this, and there's a shiny here.
A place of calm and respite, whilst perhaps unimaginable in the underworld, occasionally is to be found, in fact.
And not a moment too soon.
So yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Don't think I've gone this far. Think I hear the river.
So, it is early access. This is a placeholder. You'll notice it's very similar to Nyx. So I think that characters that I haven't quite gotten around to making the art assets for, they present like this. Or maybe Karen just looks like this. Not sure. In any case, leave the little thing that they do.
Why, good to see you, Carol, mate. Just minding my own business, taking in the sights, and hey, what's that? You got some sort of wares for sale? Then I'll just have a look around.
So yeah, I can get food. That's all I can buy, apparently.
Must have slept.
Oh yeah, okay, so I can't actually afford anything that'll help me. Nice.
The infernal wares of the Stygian boatman Charon lie sprawled about, available for sale to whomever would be willing to quench the boatman's great thirst for riches.
So the food heals you. the pomegranate powers up your abilities, and this is another bonus. So I could call Athena if I had, 53 more. Alright, so in the interest of story, I think I'm gonna try to die. Ow, ow. 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 Ow, ow. How did that happen? There's no escape. Well, we ended up at home anyway.
Back again.
Looks like one of the wretched witches shot you dead last time. Sorry to hear that, huh? Have you tried shooting them first?
Thanks, Hypnos.
I haven't.
Oh, I see you've decided to come home. Changed your mind yet? Or looking for more pain and suffering?
More pain and suffering for sure. After all, you taught me to appreciate the finer things.
You keep telling yourself that, boy. But mark you my words, sooner or later this life that you have chosen for yourself shall teach you I was right.
Good talk. Good talk. How you holding up, boy? Eating well lately? All three mouths full and happy?
Each terrifying maw of the infernal watchdog Cerberus responds affirmatively, one after the next, as if to reassure the ever-doubting prince. Keep at it, lad. I've known great men throughout my life, and I can always tell when someone's better than their circumstances. Fight like I'd fight out there.
I'll give them hell as you once did, Achilles. Though doubtless many of the shades who stand against me first arrived in Tartarus because of you.
Let's see. Other characters to talk to over here at the moment.
Moaning and groaning.
What once was a small lounging area within the House of Hades now is sealed off, in utter shambles, since the multi-headed Cerberus tore the space apart, mourning the missing prince.
Cerberus destroyed the lounge again.
Darkness guide you, child. You have outgrown this house. Of that I am now certain. Should you return again here, I shall keep you safe.
I won't forget you, Nyx, I swear it.
Yeah.
If I sit down, I won't want to get back up.
Yeah. We're gonna end this playthrough here for the sake of time. But yeah, that's the type of game that it is. And we got 10 minutes left, so is there anything you'd like to talk about regarding this game now that you've seen a small amount of it? Anything that you'd like to point out? Anything you're curious about?
What's your favorite weapon?
So there are a couple of weapons, and these are largely mechanical as opposed to narrative, right? You've got your sword, you've got your bow and arrow, you've got a shield, and you've got a spear. And narratively-wise, there's a fun thing that happens. Each of the weapons has like names, right?
Yeah, like the shield, I believe, is the original.
Aegis or something.
Aegis,
Yeah, shield of chaos,
Athena,
what we call it.
doesn't Athena like ask you about it if you're
Right.
using it?
So as a narrative aspect to tie in with the mechanical, when you carry these weapons and you meet the gods, they'll be like, "Oh wow, that's an old weapon. That's like an old legend. Where did you find that?" It's like, just sitting around. Okay. So like Artemis, for example, will have things to say about the bow for obvious reasons. So yes, there are narrative bits and pieces that go along with it. My favorite is probably the shield, because you have this charging attack, and you sort of dash forward, but they made it so that when you dash, you're still charging. So you can charge in a straight line, but then start zigzagging around and trying to hit more enemies at once.
Shit, that sounds great.
Yeah. As far as mechanics go, and I do like a good mechanically, like one that feels good mechanically, the dash that you see every now and then feels really good, sometimes. as you upgrade, you can get more dashes, so you can go like dash, 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 instead of just a single dash, which fighting the mini-bosses early on, or like early mini-boss with one dash is painful as all heck. Another fun dash mechanic is with the spear. There's a charge attack where you do like a whole spinning attack, right? If you dash, it'll execute that spin attack where you dash to, rather than the starting point. Cool stuff. Yes?
How many rooms are there total?
A lot. So I would say there's probably, I'd say maybe like 10 rooms up to like the first first actual like boss, right? Spoilers, Anthony mentioned it, the first boss fight is against one of the Furies. So they do some fun stuff with this in that, you know, Zagreus has grown up in the underworld. He kind of knows everybody that's there, right? So when he runs into this first boss, they sort of greet each other, and it's like, hey, my dad told you to stop me? It's like, yep. So we're gonna do this or what? It's like, yep. And so it's got some good stuff. And then really fun twist, I hate to spoil this for you guys. Once you defeat the first boss, she starts showing up in the House of Hades. And you can give the first boss ambrosia. She goes like, well, I'll have to take this piece of contraband off of your hands. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. But you know, just like any of the other characters, you can sort of build up this sort of fondness with them, and it's really cool. Any other questions or points you'd like to make, or things that you saw in the game that are cool? Yes?
How are other rooms in the house unlocked, and is there any like story reason for that ties in?
So that lounge area that they mentioned that was destroyed, they fixed that up eventually, and you can encounter like a new character in there to talk to.
Isn't that also where the Fury is?
Yeah, and so then the Fury will also pop up there after you beat her. There's like one room where it's like, this is Hades' room, you're not supposed to go in there. And it's like, it's locked. You know, early access, maybe they'll add something to that later, but to my knowledge right now, it's not accessible. There's like a garden, looks like you can go there maybe. Again, it's early access, so there's space that they could use later.
So is early access only to the first mini boss, or?
No, so actually, you beat the first boss, there's a whole other like area, and then like, I think maybe a second boss, or, yeah, I think it goes up to like a second like major boss, right? So I believe, as it currently stands, it is like rooms, mini boss, rooms, first major boss, second whole environment, rooms, mini boss, rooms, second giant boss. I think that that's as far as this game's gotten so far. But yeah.
So do you have to go through the whole thing over again?
Yes.
Okay.
But as you go, it gets easier because you get stronger.
So do you have to beat like the big boss again?
Yes.
Yes, you have to beat every boss.
Yep. That's just the nature of the genre, of the type of game that it is.
Which is also personally why I don't like roguelike games.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. It
hurts.
can be a bit frustrating. Yeah, definitely. If you die to something dumb, it's frustrating. You don't. Yeah, that's just the genre, really. Personally, one draw of it for me is like if you've ever seen like I kind of like. If you've seen like Groundhog's Day, right? Like the guy loops through the same day over and over again on repeat, and it gets, he essentially gets like so used to it, he can just do things whatever, and he kind of knows everything's gonna happen. I like to think of this type of game like that, where you keep playing it and you get better and better, and you kind of get that familiarity with it. But also it's got a great story. Yeah, anything else?
Oh yeah, compared to the stories of the other SuperGiant games
Right.
that I've played before, which ones, like, how do you think the story of Hades compares?
Okay, so compared to previous SuperGiant games, Hades, by genre, again, it has some weird nuances, right? I'd say that, like, I haven't finished Pyre, but Bastion and Transistor, amazing games, love their stories. Because those are very much like linear stories, right? They're much easier to follow. I would say that I like them maybe a bit more, but also it's really cool to see a very colorful take on this Greek mythology, which is Greek mythology's fun. So that I do like seeing what they've done with this genre that is usually kind of like, I'm doing this again. Why am I doing this again? Why am I doing this again? It is kind of fun, like trying to like, I want to get an ambrosia and I want to be best friends with Cerberus, type of thing. I enjoy that. Anything else you'd like to talk about? And it doesn't have to be a question. It can be just like chatting about stuff. Cerberus is great. Hypnos is annoying to a certain extent. Yeah. Anything else? You want to play it?
I'm gonna be so bad at it.
That's
but I'm
okay.
gonna play it.
Well, I'd say we're not supposed to play games in the game
I have
left,
to go work
and
on
you have to
stuff
go
anyway,
work on
but-
stuff. But it's technically on this machine, so you could feasibly maybe see about it.
After 6.
After 6. After 6. After 6.
Was it 6 or 7?
It's 6. After 6. You could feasibly, but you need an option to help you out on the machine. Yeah, what's up?
Would knowing about who else are bosses be counted as spoilers in your opinion?
Well, I mean, there's a certain enjoyment of like encountering the boss and being like, oh, shoot, this is the boss. I haven't actually run into the second boss. I was on a really good run, and then my computer froze, and it was like, I thought I was gonna make it that run, but I guess not. But yeah, again, early access. It's kind of like some people are like, it's still early, they're still working on it. Like, I want it when it's done, which is a completely valid opinion, right? And it does come up a lot where it's like, oh, well, they just haven't got to that part yet, or like, oh, well, they might add this character interaction later, maybe type of thing. Which is, you know, it can be fun to be like, hey, does this thing happen? It's like, yes, or I don't know, they haven't done it yet. So, pros and cons.
You don't know what they haven't done and what you just haven't experienced.
Yeah, although I'm sure people have played the heck out of it more
Yeah.
so than me and do know exactly what they have and have not done in this game yet. Yeah.
Gives them a head start on the wiki.
Apparently Artemis got her art updated.
Come again?
Maybe old news, but Artemis actually got her art updated.
Did she?
Yeah, so she no longer looks like Nyx.
Fantastic.
She actually looks really, like the art's really nice.
Great. Artemis has some really fun lines. She kind of comes off. This is back when she was like a rogue figure, like the other placeholder arts. She kind of comes off as a bit like a younger god, like, hey, Athena's doing all this dumb stuff. Well, oh, you've got Athena's blessings? Well, too bad, mine are better.
Oh,
Type
yeah.
of thing.
Also the challenge rooms, where you can choose one or the other blessing.
Yeah?
Don't the gods get really pissed at you if you choose
Yeah,
one or
so
the other?
there are these dumb rooms where the icons on the rooms will tell you approximately what you'll be expecting to get when you finish, right? There are these really terrible rooms where there are 2 icons for the gods. So when you go to those rooms and beat every enemy in there, you get 2 blessings, but you can only choose 1. And then you have to fight more enemies. So
You didn't choose
Is
another
Hera
one after that,
optional?
or?
no, I don't think hair is an option, which is surprising.
Yeah.
They'll probably add that.
If you
to
pick
that.
somebody that's not Hera, she would probably get really pissed off.
Yeah, so it's like it'll be Zeus and Poseidon. It's like, well, shoot, I don't want to be in the middle of this. It's like, yeah, hey, Zeus, thanks for giving me lightning attacks. And Poseidon will be like, what the heck? Oceans are way better than lightning. You'll regret this choice. Have some more monsters.
No.
It's like, I just wanted to get through the room. I want to be friends with all of you. So those rooms suck, Victor. Yes. But yeah.
What if you don't choose either of them?
Well, I
Double the
think that the
monsters.
rooms only open. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that you can't proceed until you pick one, which sucks. That being said, after the first time I did one of those rooms, I never wanted to do it again. So I'm
Also,
not sure.
if you didn't choose any of them, I think both of them get
What the
very
heck?
mad.
No. This is what I wanted.
Isn't there also like so you can progress your relationship with the gods if you give them more ambrosia after the first? Like after the first time, they give you like a trinket, right?
Yep, they give you a
And
trinket.
you can give them more afterwards.
Yep. Or just talking to them, I think improves it a bit too.
Oh.
But ambrosia, yeah. So yeah, just keep shoveling. Like, have some ambrosia. Have some ambrosia. Open the door.
Have some ambrosia.
Yeah. But yeah. Anything else? Alright, well in that case, I'm going to be closing up the workshop. Thank you all for coming. If you want to talk more about any of the SuperGiantGames, you can talk to me on Discord. People have opinions on these games because everybody loves them. Well, wait. I'm sure there are exceptions, but in any case, thank you for coming. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.